realize that not everyone who follows my commentary is in the Medicare insurance industry. And so I want to take a minute today and talk about why Medicare insurance brokers are so important and why I'm always saying we need to save the broker. So let me start by first saying that when you get Medicare, you have to do something. You can't just stay with government Medicare. You have to get insurance to go with it. And if you don't, you'll get penalized because you are required to have prescription drug coverage. In addition to that, Medicare has a bunch of gaps and a bunch of expensive things that if you don't get insurance to go with it, you'll be in trouble. Now, not all of this insurance costs money. Some of it has a $0 monthly premium, but you have to do something. So let's establish that first. And when you realize that you have to do something when you get Medicare, then you have got to go to someone and have a resource that's going to teach you about what your options are. So let's talk about what all of those resources are. So first, number one, there are the insurance companies. You can contact insurance companies directly, and they have salespeople who will tell you, and they are salespeople who will tell you about their plans. And the reason why I am so adamant about saying they're salespeople is think about this. Let's say that you call an insurance company. We'll call it Acme Insurance. When you call Acme Insurance and you speak to someone there, their job is to sell you on Acme Insurance. So it's very biased. They will tell you why Acme is the way to go and all the other insurance companies are not right. And that person only makes money when they tell you to join Acme or is incentivized or works for their company. I mean, it's just complete. It's not going to be unbiased. And in addition to not being unbiased, you're going to have to speak to multiple insurance companies because there are dozens of them and talk to each one and sift through it all and try to figure out what's right. So calling an insurance company to get advice on Medicare, bad idea. Okay, next option, call a commercial on television. So you see an ad on TV, there's a 1-800 number, there's a famous football player, you call that ad on TV. What's wrong with that? Well, that goes to a national call center usually. And the national call centers, most of them are large, publicly traded companies. They are often based out of the heartland of America. Let's say it's in Indiana. And they work with the major insurance companies. So they're going to offer you plans from major insurance companies across the country, but not from any local options. So if you live in Poughkeepsie, New York, right? Or you live in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I am, those national call centers are only going to offer you the big 4 or 5 insurance companies. They don't know about the regional carriers. They don't look at what other options are there. They're only going to offer the big companies. So again, it's a little better than calling insurance companies directly, but it's still only half of the picture. What other options are there? Well, there's the State Health Insurance Plan, or SHIP, S-H-I-P. This is a nonprofit organization funded by government grants to help people with Medicare. Oh, well, that sounds great, right? Anything funded by the government that's unbiased, that's going to be great, right? Well, here's the problem. When you go to a SHIP counselor, and you know, SHIP counselors, I'm working my way up the ladder to what's best, right? I would still say this is better than calling a 1-800 number. This is better than calling insurance companies directly. But SHIP counselors are volunteers. They go through a 1-week program. Many of them have Medicare themselves. So this is a far cry from an insurance licensed professional who spends so much time getting licensed, understanding the industry, getting certified with each carrier. I mean, I spend 80 to 120 hours every year, even though I've been doing Medicare for 14 years now. I spend 80 to 120 hours a year recertifying so that I can represent Medicare plans. So you go to a SHIP counselor, they do a 1-week program, and then they begin to advise people on their Medicare. Now, anecdotally, what we see from SHIP is that the advisor will advise people to do the same thing that they did, because oftentimes the advisors are seniors themselves, and they've gone through Medicare and they say, oh, I'm going to be a counselor, I'm going to volunteer my time, I'm going to help other people, right? And so they oftentimes advise others to do what they did. So if they have an HMO from a national carrier, the HMO from Acme Insurance or whatever, they are going to recommend that to people most of the time. And that's what we see anecdotally out of SHIP. Now, how do we know this? Well, think of it like the election, right? Like the exit poll surveys. We find out from people who come to us that they often are recommended, and we also have had people who've worked in SHIP. And in fact, some of our agents have gone and done the SHIP training. Now, again, I think it's noble that these volunteers are helping people, and in some cases there are paid people there, but the level and at least they have access to all different plans and insurance companies in your area, but the level of training is lacking, right? So this leads me to the number one and the most valuable resource when you have Medicare, and that is a Medicare insurance broker, an independent Medicare insurance broker. So what is it that we do as insurance brokers that's different than everything else I said? Well, what we do is we look at everything available to you. Often, most Medicare insurance brokers actually use Medicare's tools. We'll go to medicare.gov and use their tools to help advise what you should do, advise you on what you should do to run your prescription medication against all of the available plans. Medicare insurance brokers often live and work in the communities they serve, so they not only understand all of the available options, but also the doctor networks and some of the nuances that a large national call center or an inexperienced SHIP counselor or calling an insurance company directly will not understand. So without a doubt and without question, and if you talk to anyone in this industry who understands how it works, a Medicare insurance broker is the best place to get advice about your Medicare insurance. So how are Medicare insurance brokers paid? Well, this is really interesting too, because this plays into the whole thing. Medicare insurance brokers are paid by insurance companies to help people to determine what plan they should choose. So when a Medicare insurance broker enrolls someone in a plan, that insurance company begins to pay the insurance broker. Now, for many of the plans, that payment continues for 7 years up to the lifetime of the individual when they're on the plan. So a Medicare insurance broker is getting paid every single month when you get into years 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're still on your Medicare plan. They're getting paid every single month to assist you. So not all Medicare brokers are created equal. You want to make sure that you choose someone as a Medicare insurance broker that is going to follow up with you and that's going to take care of you, because that's what they're paid to do, is take care of you for the rest of your life to make sure that you have the right plan. So there is tons of incentive for a Medicare insurance broker to help you long term. In fact, that's where all the incentive is. It's not about an upfront payment. It's not like, financial advisors selling annuities who get a big upfront payment and never want to hear from you again, right? It's incentive to take good care of you. So the incentives are aligned with the needs of the people on Medicare. Now, how does this compare to SHIP? Well, SHIP has no incentive and has no accountability. If your SHIP counselor gives you bad advice, there's just no accountability. And they're not there to take care of you long term. Now, you could go back to SHIP, right? And I'm not trying to bash SHIP. I think that what they do is good, and I put them in second place below a broker. What about a national call center? Well, if you contact a national call center and you get your insurance that way, the likelihood that you will ever speak to the person who enrolled you again is essentially zero. So there's no incentive on their side, no long-term plan for them to take care of you or to make sure that you have the right insurance. So working our way down to the worst option, what about contacting someone directly at insurance carrier to enroll? Well, this is, in my opinion, the worst option, because not only do you have a biased person who's going to push you on that insurance company's plan, but they have to keep you with that insurance company every year. So next year, if that insurance company has a dip in their, an increase in their cost or a dip in their benefits, then that person is incentivized to convince you to stay. So absolutely the worst option, to go direct to carrier. Now, unfortunately, this is one of the big issues in our industry. There are some insurance companies that only allow their employees to enroll people in their plans. So we may, as insurance brokers, recommend those plans because we're doing what's best for our client, but that insurance company will not allow us to enroll. They'll only allow their employees to enroll people in their plans. And whenever I see that, that's a big red flag, and it should be for you too. That's a big red flag. And insurance companies, honestly, they should work with all brokers, because when they don't, that is what creates bias. So those are the 4 primary ways that you can get advice on your Medicare. I just wanted to kind of share that to understand why it's so critically important that we protect Medicare insurance brokers, because if you look at the alignment in incentives, if you look at the unbiased nature of what they do, and the fact that they represent the person with Medicare, not the insurance company, they represent the person with Medicare, it is without a doubt, hands down, the best place with the aligned incentives for you to get advice on your Medicare.